Welcome back to the Investing RN podcast. Today we are interviewing Rickey Rodriguez. He definitely has a baseball name. I like him for that.
Rickey Rodriguez. Yes.
Yeah.
So he's a nurse and fire chief, and he talks all about investing and just putting in the reps, and lo and behold, you become a millionaire. And he speaks to that. He speaks to that directly.
So he's doing it through real estate. He's doing some short-term stuff, long-term. And he started a local meetup in town, which is pretty cool. I think that's where he's meeting some other people that he's investing with and just providing a resource for. So definitely motivated me to get out there and start a meetup group in my local area, which I have not done yet.
But he motivated him.
But I'm going to. I promise I will.
I promise.
What's the scouts thing? I don't know. Anyways, I'll do it. Say I won't.
All right. We'll see on the episode. All right. Welcome to the Investing RN podcast. Today we have Rickey Rodriguez. He's a nurse, a firefighter, got some kids. He's got some real estate. And he's an entrepreneur and businessman. So we're going to dive into everything that you've done. And I think we'd like to get started with how you were introduced into nursing. So you started with nursing, right?
No, actually, I started in the fire service.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I tell you, man, I was in the fire service. I had my kids at a very young age. I always tell people there's three things I've never been. I've never been an adult without kids. I've never had my own bedroom, and I've never been a bachelor. I've been with my wife since I was 11 years old. To become a nurse was almost a necessity at the beginning. It was a way for firefighters or for me to double my income and a way for me to have a little bit of security, because a lot of times we assume in the fire service that you're going to make it to the end, and what is that end? Could be 30, could be 35-year career. But in between there, you can get hurt, injured. And I needed a way to be able to provide for my family. And so that's when, I decided that, I'm going to do this nursing route. And that led me to become a nurse.
Become a nurse. So I was listening to one of your other podcast episodes right before this. And so you had your first kid when you were really young, right?
Yes, I was 17. Mm-hmm.
17. So that actually speaks to me, because I had my first kid when I was 20, not quite 17, but it still came out of a big surprise. And much like you, I went from the dorm at college to married with my wife and a kid. So I never had a single day as a bachelor either.
No, man.
So what did that, like, what type of challenges did you have to work through? Because I mean, going through nursing school is not easy in the first place. And then doing it with a family and with a kid, that kind of brings on its own challenges. So what did that look like for you?
Well, I tell you, Josh, I've always been a motivated person, but to me, taking care of my family was an honor. And, I grew up, my stepfather raised me. So I saw how, he represented to me what it was to be a man, what it was to be a father. And so I wanted to emulate him, and he worked hard. And so, there was difficult times making ends meet. And I just was extremely motivated. But I tell you, it was challenging. I'd go to work for 24 hours at the fire department. And usually, because we're doing training or running calls or what have you, I didn't have much time to actually study. So I would study when everyone else was sleeping. So I'm sure I was sleep deprived. I'd get off shift and go right into nursing school. And back then we had the CDs, right? So you put the CD, my study guide for fundamentals, I put the CD in there and I just listened to it because I had like an hour plus drive to go to work. That was huge. But they were just burn the ships mentality. There was no way I could fail. I had 3 little ones and a wife counting on me. And the motivation level was just through the roof. I think that hard work I emulated from my stepfather. He taught me that.
Mm-hmm. So you started in the fire department at, I don't know what age you can start there. Is it 18 or how old are you when you started in the fire department?
Yeah. So I started there when I was 22. Yeah. I got hired when I was 22, and cause I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I got hired on, and then I was working my career, and I was, ticking up the ranks pretty good. So when I was actually studying for nursing school, I was also studying to be a lieutenant within my fire department, which also is a lot of work. So, man, I tell you, if I didn't have a calendar to keep track of my day, there's no way I could have managed. And I still do that to this day. I'm extremely organized when it comes to my time management, which allowed me to study for a captain's test, be good in my job, be good as a husband and a father. I also coach the kids in their sports and then study for nursing. So when people give me an excuse, I think one of the advantages I have whenever I'm coaching someone is you can't tell me an excuse that's not where you can't overcome, because I've done it, and I'm a product of you can overcome. It's just how bad do you want it?
So I did ER nursing for about 10, 11 years, and I was considering going to the LA Fire Department because I live in Los Angeles. I applied, never got through, and then just kind of changed my plans. But how did you find it going from fire to nursing? And what area of nursing were you in?
So it's pretty cool. I was in ER too. I did about 10 years in ER as well, did some charge nursing. And I was going to, I threatened to go up to the cardiac area, see the ICU. And I said, you know what? ER is my thing. You know what I mean? It jives well with the fire service, because we kind of get you, save your life, get your old bandage up, and then transfer you, right? So in the fire service, we back up into a ER bay and we transfer to the ER department. And in the ER, we transfer you upstairs somewhere or on a helicopter because you're flying to another hospital. So it kind of just fit with my skill set, doing the nursing in the ER. I loved it. I tell people all the time, I love being a nurse. There was no reason I left other than time management. And I had been working so many jobs for so long, whether it's teaching, nursing, fire department. I even had a newspaper route. So I was like, okay, I'm making enough money. It's time to start shedding the load on some things. And then just to regain my focus into real estate, I had to let nursing go, which hurt a lot because I made a lot of great friends there.
So originally you did the nursing route more of as just a way to increase your income potential, right?
Correct.
You were doing it simultaneously with fire. Did you ever leave the fire department, or were you doing it simultaneously the entire time?
Simultaneously. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, if I'm still in the fire service, I can retire in about 3 years. So it depends. I may retire and focus full time on the real estate, or if other career paths open and I feel like I want to continue serving, then I will continue working in the fire service. So that decision is still to come.
Sounds like you got a lot of options.
Yeah. And hey, that's I say that. I go, hey man, I work for options, right? The option to retire early, the option to not work double jobs, the option to, whatever that may be. And that's what you work for.
Yeah, I think one of the big things right now is like the nurse. I don't know how it is in fire, but I know with nursing, there's a big talk of nurse burnout and like predictions. I think just today, Josh posted something that was talking about, what was it, 600,000 nurses leaving the field of nursing within the next however many years.
I think it was 5 years or something, but
5 years, yeah. Did you experience it? I mean, you said you loved it, so it doesn't sound like you experienced any kind of burnout, but did you witness some of that in either fire or nursing or both?
Oh, absolutely. It's fire and nursing, we have a lot of things in common, a lot of crossover, and burnout is one of those. And you see certainly people react differently to burnout. Some are indifferent. They just come, do the job, check the box and go home. Others, lash out at patients and coworkers. And we all kind of know who those people are, but we kind of keep quiet and isolate them. I was always the person, just my personality, where I would just go and kind of bring them in and bring them into the fold. And someone maybe never wanted to go reach out to, I'd find a way to connect. But yeah, absolutely, Colin, man. I saw it. I luckily for me, I never, fell into that in the nursing. And I think part of it is because I wasn't full time. There was times I did full time hours, believe me. But I think I had the options. I didn't, other options within the fire department. I had a great family. I was coaching outside of work. I had my full circle in a holistic way. I was in a good place, even though I was working my tail off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you mentioned earlier how right now you're setting yourself up to have as many options as possible. Like you're working hard so you can have more options. But when you were first getting started, having a lot of options isn't an option really. You're just working, you're burning the candle at both ends just so you can set yourself up for in the future. How long did you feel like you were just working just to make ends meet until you felt like you started to have a few more options?
Wow, that's a great question, man. There was times when I felt like, when am I going to get my break? Probably I had a 10-year stretch where, I was making good money. I was moving up the ranks, but I just wasn't making that big breakthrough, and I didn't know what it was. And I tried business. And then even with nursing there, I had an opportunity to get promoted to be a supervisor. But when I ran it all out, I go, this is not going to get me to where I need it. And what really was the game changer was kind of, I want to say two things. One was my coaching business, where I assist guys or firefighters to promote up the ladder. So that was one, but the biggest one by far was real estate. Starting real estate and buying real estate when I did at the time, and now I just think about those properties I bought in 2017 and 16, and oh my God, just sitting there, and I didn't know at the time, right? People always say I'm going to wait. It's never, right? You buy real estate, then you wait. But I never know when something's going to happen. So I find a way. If I can buy it now with my resources, I do it now, take advantage, because you just don't know what has the potential of it becoming.
Yeah. And even back in 2018, everybody was kind of preaching the doom and gloom way back then. And I'm sure you're exposed to it. And if you had listened to them, just think of what you would have missed out on.
Well, it's funny you say that. That was the year I resigned from nursing, was 2018. And I mentioned it on the other podcast, but I had struggled, and I was going to resign from being a nurse, but I loved this so much. I made friends and everything else. And we had a change in leadership. So our hospital network was being, bought out, or however, merging with this other bigger one. And they had some different standards. The people I had connected with had left. So there's new people who didn't know me. And then they started making it really difficult for per diem to stay on board with them. And so I looked at that as that was the signal. And so I want to say in April, March of 2018, I resigned. And May of 2018, I bought my first sixplex. And I bought that thing for like $170,000. That thing is worth like 800 plus now. So I go, damn, when everyone else is saying doom and gloom, I'm quitting a great paying job, secure job. Yeah, it may be my secondary job. People are like, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? You buy real estate now? And now I look like the genius, but I sure enough look like the jackass back then to a lot of people.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you say, because it's like, I can kind of resonate with, because I'm actually currently not doing nursing right now. I haven't been doing it since basically the beginning of 2022. And it was never about like the patient workload. It was never about like not enjoying the work. I love working with people. I love showing up to work. There's a big crew of people there you're hanging with. Like traumas were always like, really exciting and like, and you know what I mean? Not like it's a good, but challenging. Like, so I enjoyed all that, but it always came down to like something with management and like in your case, like not being able to pick up per diem. But yeah, I left in 2022 and it was kind of the same thing. It's like, well, what are you doing? What are you leaving for? And since then we've kind of gotten into property management and stuff. But yeah, I think it's like the time is never like perfect, but you just kind of got to take a leap of faith. And it sounds like that's what you did. So with your investing in real estate, so that all started after leaving nursing, but while still doing the firefighting?
No. So prior to that, I had already owned maybe like seven properties, seven doors. I had like 3 single families and a 4-plex. And then I knew I wanted to just throw gasoline on it and just really charge. And that's when I made that decision.
So before you even left nursing, you had 7 total doors. So what did that look like? Because you were doing full-time fire, full-time nursing, and buying some real estate on the side. Talk about that journey a little bit.
Man, I was so pumped. When you buy your first property and you can see it and you do the math and you go, I can actually do this. I see a path. And you get that feeling like I'm meant for more. I'm built for something greater than what I'm doing now. And that was what I felt. And so when I got into real estate, I saw a clear path to a goal that I thought that was really difficult, if not near unattainable. And I saw it, and I just figured, okay, if I buy this, then this, and it just worked. And I was in Florida, didn't realize that I was in a place that was going to grow so fast the way it did. But I just was, man, I was so pumped and so amped to try to do this because I could see it. I could work the numbers. I didn't have to go back to school to get a master's degree. Meanwhile, I was making more money than people with master's degrees. And not to put them down, but I'm just saying I found the path that worked for me. And it was so just motivating. And I didn't want to stop. I wanted more and more and more. Yeah, so kind of my deal.
So did you go the route of where you're doing everything, you're doing 100%? If you get a call at 10 p.m., you're the one that goes and fixes it? Or how did you set yourself up to where you were able to handle so many things all at one time?
Yeah, so at the beginning, I really, the firefighter in me really sets boundaries and structure. And one of that was really, I don't want to say training because that sounds demeaning, but really informing my tenants of the rules and expectations. And I would sit down one-on-one and have a clear conversation. Anytime I sat with someone and had that conversation, it pretty much went well. And at the beginning, maybe it was luck, but I really didn't have any problems. I quickly got out of the role of doing everything. I mean, quickly. And that was I think some of it's luck, some of it was me, that I connected with a couple of people that really resonated and they wanted to take on that additional responsibility. And to this day, I'm still with two of those folks. And when we talk about continuing to grow the empire, and they're actually waiting for me to retire. They're like, come on, man, when are you going to retire so we can really push this thing?
So then you hired property managers pretty quickly. Is that what you did?
Yeah. So on maybe half of my portfolio leading up to that, I had property managers. I had property manager. Well, I really only on two out of the 7. The rest I handled myself at the beginning. And then I really engaged with my handyman. So my handyman was almost like my partner, but he also was my handyman. So he would field a lot of those calls that would come in. At the beginning, we gave the tenants his number. If there's anything that maintenance required, you'd call him. Don't call him for anything related to pay and anything like that. You call me. So we were able to split those phone calls, and then eventually we streamlined it. And so now I don't take any of those. Those go through the app, the Rent Ready app.
Oh, that's just kind of a side note here. How are you enjoying the Rent Ready app?
Dude, I'm loving that thing. I'm telling. When I think about how much money I used to spend on property management, and I still have, when I transferred the money usually we do our transfers like about the 10th after all the rents come in. I still have the line item that I used to pay the property managers, and what I do is I just transfer it to myself, right? But I wanted to keep that, and just it's always a reminder that this is what I used to transfer to them that the software does now. It's crazy, nuts.
So was the plan to just supplement the income originally with the real estate? Because you said you started doing it while you were doing the nursing. Were you wanting to get out of nursing, or were you just trying to supplement your income?
At the beginning, I was just excited about buying real estate, and I wanted to. The first thing was just to offset that income, the income that I was making as a nurse, because I just wanted to have more free time. I didn't know what free time was, and I wanted to just, So let me back up. So the goal was to just offset the nursing, so I didn't have to work nursing, and then after that, I was just going to go, okay, could I replicate what I make in the fire department? That was the next goal. And if I could say, okay, passive income is coming in that matches the fire department, that's pretty damn good. You know what I mean? wasn't even thinking about the wealth component at that time of how much everything appreciated, what my net worth swelled up to be.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say it's cool to hear from somebody like you because obviously it's not like you're just trying to get out of this for like because you don't want to work anymore. You're not trying to work hard. You clearly like working hard, but it's just that time thing. Like just having the time. You have a family. You have other things you're passionate about, and that's kind of the power of real estate or whatever investing you do, is that it frees up that time so you can pursue things that you're passionate about.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you mentioned you bought your first sixplex back in 2017, and at the same time as kind of when you scaled back or quit nursing. I assume at that point you hadn't replaced your nursing salary, so there was probably a bit of a disconnect or a little leap of faith, as Colin put it earlier. So how did stepping back from nursing, how did that accelerate your nursing career? Your real estate investing? Because it sounds like you were able to do quite a bit more after you after you kind of scaled back a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. And I talk about it. I bought my bandwidth back. I had time to think, because, when you're working 2 full-time jobs or nearly 2 full-time jobs and then with all your other obligations, when you have time to think, you become fatigued, your willpower drains. So when I didn't have to go to nursing, I didn't realize, you get used to doing it so much and then you remove it. You don't realize how much time you got. I've been so used to working with this small amount of time. So I really bought my bandwidth back by quitting or resigning from nursing because, like you said, no, I hadn't at that time fully replaced it. But to think about, I wasn't actually physically going out and spending those hours in ER anymore. Now my properties are working for me on their own without me doing anything, So it was kind of great. I was able to think and really push forward with my goals, and I really started tracking my net worth and going, wow, I can't believe it. And I accidentally discovered back then that I was a millionaire. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know it. Well, I had time to start wanting to put in everything. I'm like, whoa, honey, guess what? It's crazy. But that's kind of my journey.
Yeah. So as I mentioned right before we started this conversation, is most nurses don't ever imagine becoming a millionaire, and it sounds like it kind of accidentally happened on you. So what's one word of advice you would give to nurses right now that have never even thought of becoming a millionaire, but everybody's always like, oh, I wish I could do this. I wish I could do this. Well, getting millionaire status will probably kind of cater to some of those dreams that you've had. So what's something that you would tell a nurse that has big dreams but never really imagined becoming a millionaire per se?
I could say it's possible. Like some of the things I would say, if anything, it's possible, right? And you go, but I don't know how. Well, sometimes you don't know right away. Sometimes it accidentally smacks you an opportunity. I'll tell you what, my oldest son, he played college football and he did nursing. So he got out and he was a nurse, and he's making decent money. And then COVID hit, and what, they started paying nurses through the roof, right? So then he decided to continue, and he made a boatload of money traveling all over the country. So you just don't know. Stay the course, know that it's possible. Don't give up on your hopes, and go and meet people. Get out, go to some of these masterminds that may be kind of adjacent to what you're doing. So like my meetup group, for instance, it's literally called Sirens and Scrubs, right? Because those are my people. But at the end of the day, anyone can come. But there's nurses on there, firefighters, police officers, and we're around each other. And you realize, wow, it's possible. And that's the thing I tell people. It's possible. Don't discount yourself because you're not. Be good at what you do. Be a professional. Get around other people. And sometimes luck runs right into you if you're standing in the way, So most people, they just move themselves out of the way, take themselves right out of the game,
Yeah. So let's talk about Sirens and Scrubs for a little bit. What caused you to want to start something like this? Did you go to somebody else's meetup and you're like, oh, this is powerful, I want to start one back at home, or what kind of led you to begin to even want to do something like that?
Yeah. So, you hear it on all the podcasts, and, that's a great way to connect with people. And I've always been a guy where people, call for different reasons, advice or whatever the case. So I had a big network already, but they were calling me at random times. I would meet people at a coffee shop. My profile's on Bigger Pockets, so I would get people that, hey, can we go for coffee? So I'd go for coffee. But I was finding myself going, I was all over again with a tight schedule. So I said, what if I just made one location, one date, one time, make it consistent. If you want to come talk to me, I'm there. We can have a beer, we can eat great food, and we can have great conversation. And so what really pushed it over the edge is I had went to another local just up the road, a little north of me, and I saw he did one, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I think I might have heard a podcast or something, and I was just fired up already, and I said, you know what, the hell with it. And my wife, she was so concerned. She's like, well, honey, what if no one comes? I go, honey, if no one comes, we like this brewery. So we get a beer and we eat and we go home. What? So what? They don't want free advice from someone who is doing what they want to do. Okay, I'll go home. It was overwhelming. We've had good crowds ever since, and it's just good. And I don't, it's just there. I don't sell anything. I have friends of mine that come there that are mortgage brokers, real estate agents, and title officers.
So what did that first meetup look like, and how did you get people how did you make aware of your network to even show up?
So what I did is, since I already had a presence, and I'm slowly being intentional about building my presence on social media, because I had one, you're one of those guys that's connected, but you don't really worry about connected on the social media. Well, my business coach said, yeah, you got to start at least trying to get that out. So anyhow, I knew that I had social media and I had the Meetup app. They do a good job of putting your stuff. So meetup.com is the app I use. And I don't know on your side of the country, I think Meetup still works over there too. But yeah, just go on one of those apps. They've already figured out the algorithm and what to do to get people's attention. And you just create. And, I think I pay maybe $100 and something a year to be able to host on there. And all that is information. It pushes it out. People get on there and they can join up. And when they join up, they get all the notifications anytime I go on and add pictures, stuff like that. And then I take that link and I just throw it on my social media. Nothing crazy. I tell people, keep it simple, stupid. You know what I mean? Don't overcomplicate things.
I know you said that you aren't looking for anything from this. Like, this is just like a meetup for people to get together, have good beer, have good food, whatever. But have you had any deals come from these meetups or partnerships or anything like that?
Yeah. So not for me, but for some of my students, they've partnered up with people. And I don't know if a deal went through yet, but from the advice that been given, we've had several people do deals on their own. And a lot of that's just giving them the courage. They want something to bounce off. So they'll bounce things off of me, or they'll tell me what their fears are, and I'll dispel them and I'll remind them of the different ways you make money. It's not just in cash flow. And so, I think that encouragement, that safe environment, they pull the trigger. And we had a student that had came, and I had known him a long time. And we were able to help him, and he bought a place up in Tallahassee. So it's pretty exciting to hear the stories. But yeah, I personally have not done a deal with anyone there. And it's just, the way it's been so far. But I'm sure it'll come. I'm a man of consistency. Like I said before, it took 10 years before I really popped and figured out what I wanted to do. And then it just happened.
Did you plan for this to be more of a real estate meetup, or you said it's sirens and scrubs? Did you mean for it to be just kind of healthcare people just coming together, just becoming a community and having, people to talk to, or did you imagine it being a real estate meetup from the start?
No, it legitly says on Sirens and Scrubs real estate meetup group. So my avatars at the beginning were my circle, firefighters, anyone, public safety, nurses. And then it quickly, you put real estate in there, it quickly turned into people outside of that. It was funny. People would come, I'm not a nurse, but can I sit in? I'm like, absolutely. Come on in here, So, but at least I was able to kind of target, my avatars at the beginning. And then we've never closed the door, but it's broadened out. So we've gotten a lot of people from different industries that come down.
And when was the first time you hosted this meetup?
I want to say September. I think it was September of 2022. So
Okay.
I didn't even know. In September, I get an alert and it says your 1 year anniversary. So I turned around to the group. I'm like, hey guys, thanks for coming. It's our 1 year anniversary. I think I bought everyone drugs or something. But yeah, it just came so quick. But I look forward to that every month. And it's just literally one day you pick it. For me, it happens to be the first Thursday of every month. And so there's consistency. And you'll see that throughout me. There's something that, in my life, I value consistency. So every Thursdays, 6:30 to 8:30. And usually we're past 8:30 because we're having such a good conversation. But it's just cool helping people, and it gives us something to do on a boring Thursday.
Yeah. So how many people did you have in your most recent one compared to your first ever?
So my most recent one, I probably had like 20 something people.
Okay.
Yeah, 20 something people, something like that. Yeah. And then the first one, I probably had about the same. Yeah, I probably had more of that first one. It was new, everything, and then after people start coming, some will come this one, and then I'll get a big group to come the next one,
Okay.
and the summer months and it's difficult. Holiday months is difficult because people have family and time in town. But I have no expectations. So when I come, I am always prepared for there to be anyone. And so if one person's there, it's good for that person. Not that we've had that, but that's what I prepare for. And so I'm calm. I'm giving free advice.
Yeah. And is this all down in Florida?
Yeah, this is in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah. So with your day-to-day kind of now with your business, what's that looking like with the real estate?
Man, that's a great question. Dude, I'm going to tell you, 2023 has been my toughest year in business for a number of reasons. You can look at everything right now, the interest rates and stuff like that, but it's just difficult for people right now. We've had more vacancies than we've ever had. Now, some of that is because we're cleaning up some of the work from a previous property manager that we had. And so those problems have all been her previous tenants. So we're down to, I want to say 2 more and then we'll be good. But it all kind of just collided. That's why it's so important. And you've heard people talk about having reserves. You've got to have reserves. Because if I didn't have reserves, I'd have to close up. I literally I run like a 90% occupancy rate. We never have vacancies. And then just by chance, someone's father died, so she can't afford the rent by herself. Like things that was out of people's control all happened like in a 3-month span. And on top of that, rehabbing stuff and replacing this and replacing a water heater. This year has been tough. And I think also is because I transitioned to a day job. As a firefighter, I normally work at 24 hours on, 48 hours off, but now I'm working full-time days. So it's really hard for me to have that block of time off to do a lot of the work that I used to. So I'm really reliant on my team now. But thank goodness we put that in place way back then. So now, all right, now it's almost like we activated it. We had the system in place, but I was still kind of there in the middle. And then now that I'm not there as much, they've already had the, a chance to practice, so to speak. They've already taken their snaps, the reps. So now they're able to just take it, and they've amazed me with what they've done without me. And usually I'm only there for big questions. If it's a big question, a big decision, they'll call me. Other than that, they run day to day, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's great. One of our first fourplexes that we bought, I wanted to do the property management just to get the experience and know how to do it. We had one vacancy for a couple months, and it started making me nervous. And I let somebody in that I should not have let in, and we paid for it for the next 6 months. But I can speak to the vacancy issue because after you see an empty unit for a few months, I started getting nervous. I was like, oh man, we're missing out on $1,000 a month every month that somebody's not in there. But then I went and put somebody in there that shouldn't have been there, and then we paid the price for the next 6 months instead. So hiring, or not hiring, but getting the right tenants in there is the most important thing you can do. And
Oh my goodness, you're so right. And you're going to have people that in your team or in your circle that says, hey man, just what's taking so long? And you just gotta, be consistent. Hey, they don't meet our criteria. Don't change your criteria to fit someone, right? Ask me how I know.
yeah,
Don't do it. You're going to pay. At the end of the day, you're going to pay for it. And so I have one property that I had to write a check to and pay the mortgage on because it was empty, right? That freaking sucked. But I know had I not done it, I put the other person in, I would have been writing more of those checks. So I got a great tenant in now. Everything's cool. It would just, cost of doing business sometimes. That's why you have reserves. At the end of the day, when I tell people, it didn't go to waste. I just, paid down my loan, increased my equity, and play defense a little bit. If you're watching football, It's not all about offense.
Yeah. So you're doing real estate investing. Are you all in on real estate? Are you doing any other kind of investing? I know I mess with stocks a little bit, learned a few valuable lessons, and I don't do that anymore. But what are you doing as far as investing? Is it just real estate or is there anything else?
Yeah. I toured around with some stocks and I play in it through like my work, sponsored programs. And I'm just, dollar cost averaging. I'm just always in. So I don't mess around with any single stocks or anything. I did dabble. I did do okay back in like 2010, 9. But I just figured, you know what? I'm just going to find my niche and just straight up long-term rentals. And I got a couple. We have 2 short-term. That's where I like to be. That's the area I like to play in. And we play well there. And so, when you try to stretch out too much, you got to be careful. And not to say that you can't do it, but with me working a full-time job, I really had to say, okay, less is more. And so for me, less has been more. And guess what? My wife's been like telling me the whole time, don't do that. Don't do that. Right. And so now as I'm shedding stuff, I almost bought like 3 businesses. I mean, I was just close, man. That was through GoBundance, listening to them. I wanted, that's still on my bucket list to buy brick and mortar. And so I know how to analyze it completely, but I stepped back because I had too much on my plate and it was the whole less is more. And, kind of where we are right now. But 2023 has been a tough year, but it's let me step back to really see where I want to go in the next 2 to 5 years.
Yeah.
That's where
so
we
what
are.
does your entire portfolio look like right now?
So we are at 35 doors, and that's spread out through 3 states, Florida, Oklahoma, and Michigan. And those are mixed, single family, multifamily, the largest multifamily being the 6-plex, and then the short term in Orlando and the short term up in St. Augustine, Florida.
Okay. Sounds like you got a lot of brick and mortar right there.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
But you want to play the business game a little bit too, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And my wife said that to me. I go, yeah, honey, you're right. You're right.
So speaking of your wife, is she involved in the business in any way, in the real estate, or how are you guys doing that?
Yeah. So, at the beginning, I really wanted her to be involved more. And I think when I look at it, I wanted her to take responsibility of things, to take off my plate. But as I realized that you can't do that. If someone doesn't want that responsibility, you're going to damage your relationship. And that's the one thing I didn't want to do. So I learned the hard way. So my wife will gladly help me. I just can't make her responsible on a consistent basis for it. And so what I did is I built systems around it, and I made other folks responsible for it. So I have, different people that run different segments of the business. And they have a financial incentive because you can't, what are you going to say? I'm going to pay your wife. It's all hers anyway. So there's no incentive there monetary. But she will help me like with the scheduling. And when we sit down, she helps. She's part of my think tank. And if I need her to go do things. So she has gotten involved a lot more lately, especially this year, because I'm not as available. So, and we were just talking about this today. I had to go and look at one of my properties. We're going to do a rehab on it. And I was talking to my property manager, not my property manager, excuse me, my main contractor / handyman. And he was saying that he's been talking to my wife a lot more now because I'm not as available. So it's kind of how we are right now.
So listening to some of your other stuff that you've done, it seems like you put a huge value on family and your wife, most importantly. So kind of speak to that a little bit, because there's a lot of people that want to do stuff, but they're not completely 100% in agreement on what they want to do. So kind of speak on that a little bit. Like, how did you and your wife decide what you were going to do, and how did that benefit, how quickly, and how quickly you were able to grow your business?
Yeah. So my wife is so supportive of me. But like a lot of women, they're a little bit, their tolerance for risk isn't as high as men. And we know that's just fact. That's why insurance companies charge us more. They charge us, we have higher insurance premiums than men. So we tend to take more risk than her. But I think we have a good balance. My wife, she knows that I've been successful in a lot of other areas. And there's times where I don't listen, right? I just don't, right? And sometimes I'd say most of the times it's paid off that I didn't listen, but 2 big times I should have listened to her, I did. And so I had to walk in kind of like, but I think I value her and our relationship over everything, right? And she knows she's the most important person, even more important than my kids. Because guess what? Right now, all our kids, we're empty nesters. Our kids aren't here, right? So imagine if you treat your wife a certain way for 20 something years and you don't put her at the top. Now the kids are gone and it's just you two, right? So I've always made that a primary focus, and even the kids know that. They can say it. We know Dad, Mom's more important than us. We know. I go, yeah, but you don't know. You're in the next ring. I call it the bullseye. Only Mom and I are in the bullseye. You guys are in that next ring. Then my parents are in the next ring. I have very clear boundaries. I think I told you that earlier. As a fire chief and being in the fire service, we have to have those circles, right? Where there's times that we can be someone's friend, but now I have to be your supervisor and discipline you. So being able to transition from the roles it's a big thing. I don't even know if I answered your question, Josh. I'm sorry, man.
No, that's all right. I mean, I just wanted to bring out the value of being on the same page, because there's a lot of people, like you said, like I'm 100% more risk taking than my wife. But she brings a good balance. But I think where people run into the issue is where if they're just not on the same page and they're not communicating well, and that works with every partnership, not just a marriage, but just how key communication is, and you need to be communicating the entire time rather than just doing your own thing. All right, so we're gonna step into our final segment here. We call it the final 4. So it's 4 questions that we ask everybody here. We'll start with the first one. What is a top financial resource that you found for nurses, whether it's book, podcast, whatever type of resource?
Wow. For me, books have been the way, right? Now there's podcasts and everything, but for me, I'm still an old school. I think when you get in the book, you get so intimate, cozy with the book. I think one of the first books, obviously everyone says Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But I think a big one for me was Dave Ramsey, The Total Money Makeover. That really set the foundation for everything for me. Taught me about money and paying attention. Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Investor. Those 3 are my top 3. So books to me, I think opens to see. You can listen to a podcast and it's fleeting. They come in and go out, but you get a good foundation books. And then you can doggy ear those things, write all over it, leave it somewhere where you see it, and pick it up every so often. So to me, books were a game changer.
Is there one book that you read before you bought your first investment property? Was it Robert Kiyosaki, or did you have something else?
So I read Robert Kiyosaki years ago, and I was like, who is this guy? No, who does that? Right. It didn't click with me, but timing wasn't there. But then you really just believing it out here in Ramsey, even though he says not to use debt, right? I still knew I wanted to buy a property. Then I eventually got around to using leverage to my advantage. His books were powerful. I even went up there and did my debt-free scream and everything. My wife and I became totally debt-free because of Dave Ramsey. So I know people say, he don't listen to him, listen to Kiyosaki, but he's the foundation. And then Kawasaki is the accelerator, so that's what I'd say.
Definitely. Yeah. And they speak to different people. Like not everybody is structured, I guess, enough to handle debt. So I think Dave speaks to a completely different avatar, but they both have their purpose.
For sure.
I think Kiyosaki one time said, "If you're an idiot, listen to Dave Ramsey." He's, you know how Kiyosaki is.
I know.
If you're an idiot with money, he's like, listen to Dave Ramsey or something along those lines. But
Yeah.
not calling you out, obviously. But
I know, because I'd hear it and I'm like, okay.
He's just a funny guy, Kiyosaki. But so on to the next question. You could take this either as a new firefighter, as a new grad in nursing. But what would you tell yourself as a new grad?
Yeah, so I say when you come out, when you're in that role, whatever role you're in, be present in that role. So for instance, we're all distracted, we're doing different things. But I tell you what, when I clocked in as a nurse, believe I was a nurse. And I would tell my guys all the time, you're not a firefighter. You got to walk in here and be a professional, be a nurse. And then when you leave out of there and you're in the fire department, you're a firefighter. You need to really, be a professional and know clearly what role you're in and not cross those over. Because a lot of times that would offend nurses or, because they're like, oh, in the field, we would do this. You're not in the field. You're a nurse. Be a nurse. Take it seriously. Do not walk in there and go, well, this is my side job. You never heard me say that, right? I think really whatever you're doing, do it to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we all hear all the time. And it when you're in your position, you're like, oh, what in the field we do this, that probably bothered me more than anything else. Is like, because you're right. We're not in the field right now. Like, all right, so we'll go to the third question here. So what is your big goal for the next 12 months and what can we do to help you get there?
Wow. That's a good one, man. That's a good one, Josh. I'm trying to find clarity right now. And that's the big thing for me. Even was a big challenge for me when I was at the mastermind down in Santo Domingo with Jamie Gruber, with Dominican Republic, excuse me. Is trying to really find clarity. Because I think right now I built myself so many options that I don't know which one I want to choose. So I'm peeling back that onion one layer at a time to figure out what I want to do. And that's in both sides. That's, do I want to continue building my portfolio with the fire department? In the real estate, or do I want to continue climbing the ladder within my fire department? And those two have been really weighing on me this year. So, I think for me, the biggest thing, and I don't have an exact answer, but finding clarity is what I really want to do. And I'm about 8 months into this process of trying to figure out what I want to do. So I don't know if I answered that well enough, but it really is that way to me right now. I just don't have a definite answer where I want to go. And that's really hard for me because I'm a person that's very decisive. And right now I'm like, do I sell a little bit? Do I sell it all? Start over and build it up again. Do I refinance and pull out? Have you guys ever heard for the real estate, the Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller? There's 4 things he talks about in that book. He talks about think $1 million, buy $1 million, own $1 million, and receive $1 million. And so the last one is what I was working on. So I said, should I just refinance a bunch of my stuff and have $1 million+ check just to say I did it, just to check those boxes? Is that something to do? Because then that tells my kids or whoever else this is possible. Like a legit $1 million+ check sitting in your account, not what you're worth, sitting in there, right? That'd be pretty damn cool, huh? So anyhow, that concept I got out of that book.
Me and one of the guys I went to nursing school with, we both, before we started actually investing in real estate, we both made a deal with ourselves. We're like, all right, the first person that has $1 million sitting in the bank, like not like you said, net worth of $1 million, that's something, but it's not nearly the same. So he said, we decided first person with $1 million in the bank, we're giving $50,000 to some cause, who knows, like. right now I'd probably be like Tim Tebow's foundation or something like that. But either way, first person with $1 million in the bank, which is a completely different ball game.
That's right. That's right. And who knows, that may be what I end up doing, but we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, I'm just trying to find clarity this year. That's really the big thing for me in 2023, because I want to get 2024 off once I make these decisions and just, start building and growing again.
Yeah. Well, I think in the in light of being more decisive, what is one thing, because us being the investing RN for nurse, but also for right now, what is one thing you would tell nurses that they can do right now to change their financial outlook?
And I'm going to go back to the theme I've been saying is start reading. Right? There's no reason you can do that right now. So if there's one thing I would say is read. The next thing is get out and network. And it sounds cheesy. Just log into any real estate around you or something like that, meetup group, and go get next to people who are doing it, right? Because you're gonna synergize each other, right? And so I think those two, and you can do those are free, those are easy. Get into the forums on Bigger Pockets, listen to some of the webinars. So those things are free. They could have flown down, like, take a leap of faith and fly to a conference where it's so big, it pulls you out of your comfort zone that, the act of you doing that rips you away from that if you've been in a state where you're just frozen and not taking any action. You do that, I think you're ready. You know what I mean? And I would encourage that. And that's something I think I'd really light a fire on to someone.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a bonus question. This is like the overtime question, I guess.
Let's do it.
So, all right. What's the biggest financial mistake that you've made, and what did you learn from it?
Whoo! I tell you what. Excuse me. That one made me cough.
So many of them.
Yeah. My Oklahoma, right? So this was in 2022. I had ventured out to Oklahoma, and my wife said, "Don't go over there. We don't know anyone." I go, "Honey, that didn't stop us from going to Michigan." So we flew over there, and like we do, we fly over, we make the connections. From our end, we did everything we could do. Then there were some things that happened that we didn't predict. So I used hard money. So I actually, it was more like a, what do we call those? Almost like a bridge loan. So that's what I did. So I bought one property. I bought three at one time, well, staggered them. So I bought the first one all cash. And then for the other two, the down payment was collateralized with the property I bought in cash. So I didn't put anything down, right? So it's gonna be great. We'll get in there, we'll rehab them. We can rehab all three of them within 3 months, refinance, pull my cash back out, and they'll be, cash flowing. Well, what we didn't know is that the Fed was going to start increasing interest rates around that same time. So two things happened. My contractor that I vetted wasn't exactly what he said he was, right? So instead of it taking 2 to 3 months, it took, I'm going to say 6-7 months, right? So now that those interest payments started to kick in, right? They started to be longer. So I ended up losing, I would say, by the time I refinanced, by the time I paid the closing costs, paid the 6 months of interest plus the 3 months or so that I would have been getting rent from. And then also keep in mind the appraisal started sagging because the confidence in the real estate market started to go down. So they all were about 20,000 below what I had anticipated them to be. So I probably lost about 120,000 on paper. Yeah. So that was a big lesson for me. And you go, well, how do you prevent that? I don't know. I mean, I thought I did everything I could. I vetted as much as I can, but I think, again, have a reserves, right? Because you're going to make a mistake here or there, but it shouldn't stop you from, from pursuing whatever your lofty goal is. So, yeah, that was my costly mistake.
All right. And where can people find you? You said you're trying to get out on socials and expand your network in that atmosphere, but yeah, where can people find you? How can they follow you on socials?
I think the primary place that people can find me is on Instagram at rickyrod.com. I mean, what is it? At Rickey Rod. No, it's just at Rickey Rod. Yeah, I never know. My daughter helps me out. So it's Rickey, RickeyRod. So it's just at Rickey Rod, all one word. And everything is up there. They can find, our social media stuff, different events. I even put up our meetup group stuff there. So that's kind of my one spot. Kind of keep it simple.
Sounds good. Everybody go follow him at Rickey Rod on Instagram and everywhere else, I guess, wherever you are.
That's cool, man. Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Thanks for all the sound advice, and
thank you.
we look forward to talking to you guys again someday.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, Colin, be good, man.
Yeah. Thank you.